Tyler Moody, what's up, man?
What's going on, brother? Appreciate you having me in here.
Yes, sir. So, look, man, I know you. We've done some commentary on fights the past, 4 or 5 shows for AKA via UFC Fight Pass, but I don't really know you that well. So let's chat about your eulogy. How you got here, man?
Who am I? What a question, right? Man, trying to sum that up. Born in Shreveport, Louisiana, moved to a little place called Elysian Fields, Texas, about 30 minutes away from here. Lived there the majority of my life until I was a sophomore in high school. Moved back to Evangel Christian Academy in Shreveport. Ended up being such an amazing move for us because coming back to Shreveport was just, it opened up opportunities that I didn't realize would be so big for me later on in life. Yeah. Played a lot of sports growing up, man. Everything, you name it. Football, baseball, basketball, tennis. Like, it didn't matter. I was playing sports. I loved to be competitive. I think it was a big part of who I was growing up, just that competitive drive and it's the understanding of competition, how beautiful it is. It really sparked some things in me and made me better. Anyways, went on, played baseball, won a state championship and things in high school.
You say that so nonchalantly.
Listen, I was blessed to play on some really talented teams. Bro.
Okay.
Just like some, and it was never me that was like the reason we were going to the next level, but I was surrounded by so many great players that like my attributes were amplified. And I was kind of always one of the dudes that, the rah-rah guy, the leader verbally, and just like that element of my game was always there, kind of the mindset and stuff. So I was kind of talented. I was all right. I was okay, but no, we won some games. We had some fun, and it was such a good experience that I had growing up to play in those competitions and play, especially at a very high level. I think it was really awesome and good experience, and kind of shaped a big part of who I would become later on in life too.
Well, so that's interesting to me because you nonchalantly mentioned that one night we were talking shit, just bullshitting around. But so what was the position, man? How did you grow up in the baseball game?
So actually, I started out playing football and basketball.
Okay.
And one day I go to my cousin. So I was 12 years old at the time. My cousin and my best friend were playing on an all-star team together, and I went to practice with them. I took batting practice and hit like 4 home runs. Hit it like further than anybody else on the team did, and they were like, "Hey, you're playing next year."
How big of a fellow were you at 12?
I was bigger than most of the kids.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
just taller.
I was just taller, and I was a chubby kid too.
Okay.
So yeah, I definitely had some inertia behind that swing. But what's funny, I only ended up hitting 1 home run through the entirety of me playing. I ended up being a pitcher. I could really throw, man. I football, played quarterback, basketball. Like, all of my athleticism is right here. Okay. It's in this arm. There's nothing down here. It's right. It's mental, and it's right here with the arm. But I ended up becoming a pitcher, and actually kind of in the understanding of how to become better, between my sophomore year and my junior year, we took me from throwing up here and dropped me down here because I was average here and I became close to elite down here. And so with that change, that development, that evolution of my own game, went 23-3 between my junior and senior year, went on to help us win a state championship. And so I think it just goes like that understanding for me of like, hey, if I can grow something as nominal as a baseball game through the understanding of I need to better myself, then what can I do outside of that? And so I think you can draw these little elements from sports that is so cool, and carry that into everyday life, and it carries with you forever if you choose for it to.
Well, it's interesting because I didn't know that you played basketball and football, and so awesome too, and it makes sense because you have such a vast knowledge of all these sports.
I'm a sports nerd. Yeah, I'm just a nerd in general, I think. But yeah, definitely got a sports nerd aspect to me. It's just I really respect everybody's craft, no matter if it's sports or whatever. People, when they do it at the highest level, it's so entertaining, and it's like, wow, they're so good at what they do. How could you not want to praise it or appreciate it or whatever? So, and then the great stories are the ones that have been through the adversity. The players that have triumphed through broken legs, broken hearts, broken dreams, whatever it may be, and found their way to the pinnacle of their craft. I think it's really cool.
Well, so that being said, what did you do after high school?
So after high school, I was going to be a walk-on at Louisiana Tech.
Okay.
And this is where things start to get wild, right? I was going to go play baseball at Louisiana Tech, and one of the first practices, I'd gone to the Kappa Alpha foam party. It's 4:30 in the morning. I'm walking back to this girl's apartment, and I have baseball workouts at 5:30. And so in this moment, I have decisions to make. And I chose that dormitory. And the coach at the time that next morning was not very happy that I missed, especially when you're a walk-on, you got to be on point at every moment.
Yeah.
And so I made a decision then and there that I'd had my time competing, and I was going to go have some fun. And I guess there was a shift in the reality around me. It went from being a very focused, now I wouldn't say super focused, but focused on the competition side of life, and suddenly opened up to like, hey, there's a lot more to life than competition.
Yeah. There's a lot of kids that grow up and that's all they know, right? And then they hit the college level and it's like, oh shit, what do I do with all this crazy stuff going on?
And fortunately for me, it was never like a thing driven by, my parents did such a great job like supporting my dreams. It was never, I felt pressure from them, like, hey, this is what we're doing.
But there's
like,
there's a lot of parents that do that shit.
There's a ton of parents
like the elementary level all the way to the high school level.
Yeah, for sure. And I've seen it impact some of my friends, and like it really can deteriorate their game and their confidence, actually, I think is what it can do. Fortunately for me, it was just, hey, if I could have been a freaking ballerina if I wanted to. My parents would have supported that, which I'm very, very blessed to say. But I was able to chase my dreams, and I think that freedom that they gave me, it was great, and really just allowed me to be who I wanted to be. And I think I've become close to who I want to be these days because of that. So, thank you. Well, I mean,
that's awesome to hear. So then, where do you get into actually calling sports?
So
how does that happen?
Yeah, so I went to school to be an accountant.
Okay.
I was like, all right, we're going to do accounting. My grandpa's an accountant. I was very good with numbers. I'm still fairly good with numbers. And so I was just like, hey, this makes sense. There's money there. This is what we're going to do. We'll be an accountant. It's great, haha. And I just decided halfway through, every time I would be at a party or watching sports, people were like, man, you need to do this. I was very, very knowledgeable, I guess you'd say, and it's pretty well thought out. And halfway through, I said, man, this is not the right path. We got to make a decision here. So I left Louisiana Tech, came back to LSU Shreveport because Tech really was only on the print side of journalism. And I'm not a huge fan of writing. I mean, I do it, but it's not my favorite. And then linked up with Mary Jarzabek, the teacher here at LSU Shreveport. She, again, a person that gave me freedom to kind of do and create and be. And that was just a great place for me to understand the small things, the equipment, running a camera, all the little things. And then started working at Channel 6 here in town, KTAO. I was the morning show producer. That was my very first job. She got me this job the very next day. I helped out some with the sports. Did a little bit of reporting in the mornings from the control room, things of that nature. So I got my feet wet there in a lot of different ways. Then a good friend of mine, Patrick Netherton, about 8 to 10 months after I'd been at KTAL, he comes to me and says, hey, I'm starting a sports talk radio show in the morning. Would you like to be a part of it as my producer? And this is kind of where things get going. So I'd go to work at 11 p.m. at night in KTAL, finish there at 7 a.m., go directly to the morning show, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., would do our sports talk show. That went pretty well for a while. It went so well that they wanted to move it to 97.3 here in town, the Pops.
The station,
Right, Top 40 station. They actually moved us from there over to that station because we were just pretty entertaining. We talked a lot of things outside of sports. Then my buddy Ben Mintz, who now works for Barstool Sports, shout out Ben Mintz, the man.
Hey, you need to tell him to come on the show, man.
For sure. Hey, I'll get him.
He brushed me off, bro. I was like,
I'll see if I can get him for you. He's good people. One of my good friends.
But no, dude, I follow him on social, man. He's a great dude.
He's great. He's absolutely great. And I want to say a big thank you to him and Patrick Netherton. They've both been huge in my career, without question, man. They've been great people to me in general, way outside of the career aspect, but they've been great there. So anyways, I'm doing both those radio shows, end up leaving KTAL to focus strictly on radio. I'm doing some, joking in the morning, some sports at night. It was great. And then I got myself fired.
How'd you do that?
All right, we're going to get into this. This was, when you look back at things in hindsight, it's like, all right, blessing in disguise type thing, because everything works itself out. Like you get a chance to live this journey that's different than what it would have been, yada yada, right? But let's get into this. So one morning, I'll tell the whole story because me and this guy are now on good terms, and I think maybe just to hear this explained, if he happens to hear this, it's cool. Somebody texted into the show, what are places in Shreveport Bossier that you missed, right? That have closed now and you missed, right?
Okay.
Phoenix Underground comes up.
Yeah.
Phoenix Underground comes up. Well, I start telling some stories about how one of my friends got into a fight with the owner of Phoenix Underground.
Everyone always gets a fight there.
Everybody always gets a fight. So this was with the owner of Phoenix Underground. Right. So anyways, I tell this story. I put a little bit of vitriol on the story just because I didn't really know the guy at the time, and I'm on my friend's side, whatever, So anyways, I tell this story. Well, his wife hears it apparently on air. Goes to him. He goes to his lawyer. His lawyer's threatening to, sue us or whatever for slander, which I don't really think they had anything there. But from what I found out was he was doing advertising with the country station because he owned multiple places, multiple businesses here in town. And I just was simply not worth the money that would be pulled, and money talks. We always know that, right? So if he pulls that money, so it's either you lose that money, now you're going to have to deal with a potential lawsuit, and you're still paying me. Like, those three are going to outweigh just me in the end. So I took that L there. Is what it is. Lesson learned. Will never make that mistake again. I pay attention to what I say now, for sure. And this is just not something I had a plan for this day. This came up so organically. And
How old were you at that point?
25.
How old are you now?
30.
Okay.
30. Yeah, the growth from that time period to now has been quite immaculate. And then that leads to the next part of the journey. I end up from there going to work in Eugene, Oregon, and I was there for about a little over a year. And
how did that happen? That's random.
I was just sending out messages to radio stations, and this, I found this play. I was looking for markets that I thought had room to grow, stations that had room to grow, that didn't really have any local content, that needed something. I basically just looked around, found the places, and this guy, Steve Woodward, had really created a good spot there in Eugene. He's taken over now. He's doing a heck of a job. He deserves a lot of credit for it. He let me come up there and do a radio show for him for about a year, do a lot of high school football stuff, and do some things with the Oregon Ducks, Oregon State Beavers, and that was really cool, man. That was really a good experience just to be around those top flight programs and see the way they do things. And also, see what a locally owned radio station looked like. This was all him. He was doing it himself. He was a standalone sports station. So that gave me some really good knowledge on that side that I didn't know, some one-on-one mentorship from a dude that was doing it himself and had been in the radio market for a long time. So that was cool. Then I came back to Shreveport supposed to reunite with Ben Mintz for his radio show. Some things, we're not even getting into it. Fell apart there. While that is transpiring, Danger comes to me. Our buddy Matt Danger.
Yeah, Matt Snell.
And I think I had actually done a few AKA cards before I moved to Oregon. I think I had already started with a few, and then I come back, and he's like, hey, like, the shows are getting bigger. We're like, things are really blowing up right now with AKA. We'd like you to be a part of this. And started doing that. I think it's going pretty well. I don't know. I can't judge myself sometimes on the fights stuff. I'm still pretty fresh to it, but I'm falling in love with the sport. I think it's really cool. We talk about competition. The 1v1 aspect of MMA is amazing. It's so cool. That's why I enjoy it. And that's what has led us here, is now doing that. And I work for Northwestern State now. I was at LSU Shreveport, but here we are.
And you're doing play-by-play for football and something else.
Sideline reporter. So Patrick Netherton, again, who's done a ton for me, great friend of mine, is the play-by-play guy there.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm the sideline reporter. I'm doing women's basketball. I'm going to fill in some with some baseball and softball. So,
gotcha. Cool.
Those will all be play-by-play. Those others, I'm the sideline reporter, essentially the color guy, really, for football.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really cool to see like that. So all those things you've been calling and been involved in are competitive, like team sports.
Sure.
And then you get into the MMA aspect of it, and we're doing commentary together now, and I was new to it. Just walking in, it's weird because typically you're leading the conversation. And right now I'm leading the conversation, so it's a switch.
It is true. I'm actually not as comfortable in roles where I'm second. I don't mean it in terms of like, oh my gosh, my ego needs to be out there in front. I'm just more comfortable normally whenever I'm leading because that's what I'm so used to doing, and I can kind of steer it. So like with Patrick, I'm trying to get in the flow now of being his second again, and like, which I've done. He and I have a pretty good rapport because we've done this exact thing on 3 different shows now, and or 2 different shows, and now on this. But it's funny you mentioned that exact thing because it's something that as a broadcaster I do think about throughout the course course of shows.
Well, that's what I'm thinking about sitting here just talking. I'm like, you usually save our ass throughout the whole show because it's like when we have a little bit of blank space there, I'm just like, oh, I'm watching what they're trying to do here. Whether it be transition on ground or whatever, what I'm going to say next, you're just filling in the gap, and you're so good at it.
Well, it's part of just doing it a lot. At this point, being at LSUS was actually very good for me because I was producing, directing, and doing play-by-play all at the same time, like running the cameras and obviously I had camera crew, but that was very good for me just to understand, like, hey, we can make mistakes. Here's how we fill gaps. Here's how we go to breaks. Here's how we do all these different things. When it's your show, strictly your show, you're making all those decisions. And so that was really good for me. But coming back to do the MMA stuff, it's fun, man. I really am enjoying it. I think they're doing an amazing job there at AKA. The platform they now have with UFC Fight Pass is incredible. And I think the exposure is only going to continue to grow, especially just move forward. Yeah, dude. I mean, I think it's really surreal for someone like me because I can never devote the time to be a full-time professional fighter because I was always working in the oil and gas industry forever, and when I was in my prime, I guess you would call it. And being back, like I would go to fights, and I would go, like I'd get invited to fights. Somebody saying we're having a fight. I'm okay, hell yeah, I'll go. We'll get a table, whatever. And I'd go and I just get so like depressed almost because I'm like, shit, I really can't compete at this level anymore because I don't have the time to devote like these dudes are doing because this is their job, and that's not what I want to be my job. It was always just my hobby. Well, now it's like I can still be cage side with you guys and have fun, and it doesn't make me feel like, I'm missing out on anything anymore. You're a part of the experience and you get to like really watch the experience like up close and personal. Yeah. So you're a part of it as much as you can be without being the experience, which is cool. And what's funny, man, every time before the show, I'll go to the back usually, go to the bathroom or whatever, and every time I come back through and I walk through the tunnel or the entrance when you're like the fighter's entrance, it makes you want to do it so bad one time. Yeah. Like I've got, I'm not, obviously I have no MMA background, but I ain't no bitch, and I would do it, and I would definitely do it if it came to it. But there's a part of me that's like, man, it'd be so much fun to do it one time. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's one time, just to understand the exhilaration, the feeling if this dude wants to take my head off, like somebody's leaving here potentially unconscious. You can't explain it. You can't explain it, and especially at the amateur level too, because you really don't know. And especially if it's like a debut, you don't know what that dude's capable of. No clue. You know what I mean? Like all you know is what's on paper. Well, we see dudes come in sometimes. I'm like, oh, this guy's a physical specimen. He's gonna wreck this dude, and they'll get teed up because they're not very sound. It's very interesting sport, man. It's evolved so much since I've been involved with it now for like 12 years, and just the like hands-on involved and just what I've seen. Oh my God, like we have these kids that are fighting at 16, 17 years old, beating grown men, and we have these veterans coming back and like just relinquishing everything. It's crazy, man. There's a lot of stuff happening. No, there is, and the more I start to understand the sport, the more like the nuances of the sport, I'm slowly but surely, starting to see little things like how he set up that arm bar. Like, okay, now I see the transition. I see where they're getting to. The small things that I'm still behind on just because it wasn't something that I had done before. Like I've got a year experience. It's mostly from watching, or I watch the UFC. I try to watch all the big fights for sure. So like obviously I've gained a large portion of my knowledge and my terminology from watching that. But as far as just getting in there and being in the gym, I've never had any of that time to listen to trainers working on the small parts of the game the way a lot of these guys around the sport have. So I'm behind in that manner. But I think if I stick around with it long enough, for sure. The more you see everything happen and involve, it's just one of those things. The more you watch it, the more you know. Like I caught myself years ago watching fights on the weekends where it'd be at my house or a buddy's house or whatever, and I'm like, they're all outside drinking beer, and I'm watching every single fight, and then everybody comes back in, and I'm like yelling, saying, "You need to do this, you need to do that." And I'm like, well, shit. Whenever they asked me to potentially do some commentary, I was like, well, I feel like I already do it anyways at the house. Why not? It's the best place to do it. It's funny. It's just like football, like when people are yelling. It's funny you mentioned that. Doing it at the house in front of the TV. Whenever I was young, my mom caught me multiple times with the TV like sound off, like commentating the game when I was super little, like 3 or 4 years old. So maybe it was just in the cards from Jump Street. But I actually think that if you want to train, if that's something you want to do, is play by play in particular. Turn the TV on, turn the sound off, and just record yourself doing it and see how you sound. I think it's one of the best ways to get free practice where you can do it without the eyes on you, because a lot of times when you have to do it in front of people, especially that first time, no matter what you're doing, there's that little bit of nerves. This is different. Like, and you've seen me, even when we do our first takes for UFC Fight Pass, I prefer doing a second and third because they're always better. Like the first one, one of the three of us will always have
somebody's going to mess up. Yeah, someone's going to mess up.
And a lot of times it's me, because like I have first take nerves. I don't know what it is, but I'm not as sharp on that first one. Get through it, then you're like, all right, oh my God, the world's still standing. Like, we didn't mess anything up.
If you have the ability to take a second and third take, great, because you can look back at the first one and be like, okay, well, I could have tweaked this and that.
Trust me, live TV is much more. Live radio, live TV, like, and you make mistakes there for sure.
We've made mistakes on live broadcasts. Like, you're saying shit.
Oh yeah,
I try not to cuss, ever do stuff.
I was trying to keep Matt Hughes in check.
Dude,
he was
that was fun, man. That really was.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool experience. Cool dude. Obviously, we love doing it with our boy Chanel. I mean, God,
I know. I'm ready for him to come back.
He's been so good to me, and so getting really good at calling the fights. I think he's really gotten so much better since he started. Just his understanding of how much he needs to be in control once the fight starts, because he's the most knowledgeable of all of us. He's in the UFC, and he's really stepped up, and I think he's doing a great job of displaying his knowledge of the game when we're watching it. But to have Matt Hughes there last week was just a different experience. It was cool, man. He was a character. He was trying to fight me the whole night, bro. I think he thought he could pick on me, and early on, he learned, like, I can't really pick on him as much as I thought I could. I was with him step for step, just having fun, but he would have kicked my ass if he really wanted to. But it was cool just to see him. He's had a crazy journey. And,
he has.
But he was very humble, very, very cool. And it was a different experience, and one that I know you and I are both glad we got a chance to have.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I remember when I first started watching. It was, he was one of them. It was St. Pierre, it was him, it was Chuck Liddell, it was Tito, it was those guys.
Big names.
When I started watching it, like around 04, 05, or whenever it was, maybe 03, but I don't know, a long damn time ago now. Those guys were the elite, competition in that level of sports, and now it's like, man, it's still surreal to me. I haven't really processed it. I don't think, just sitting here talking about it now. It's crazy.
No, it is, and man, these guys they're trailblazers, and to have one of them sitting beside you, doing the commentary is pretty cool, especially for us we're new to the game, right? Like, so when you have these experiences, it's like, man, that's the most notable fighter I've ever met personally, for me, And so I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. And the fact that he was such a cool guy, and I think we earned his respect throughout the course of it. I say that, like, who knows? Maybe he thinks we're D-bags. I don't know. But I think I don't know. I think it was a good experience, and he treated us pretty well.
He did. I talked to him on Instagram afterwards, so that was cool. I was like, okay, well, at least he takes us somewhat serious.
Yeah, no doubt. He said he was coming back.
That'd be great. We'd love to have him back.
At the end, he grabbed me and Amber, and he was like, hey, we had so much fun. I'm coming back. And so, I don't know. We'll see if it happens.
No, it'll be fun, man, for sure. Well, outside of the commentary world and the sports broadcasting world, what else does Tyler Moody do, man?
Oh, man, I'm kind of boring. I'm 30 and single, if that tells you anything. I play a lot of Call of Duty Warzone. Maybe that's why I'm single. I'm actually, oh, my God, it's my nerd. It's like my guilty habit, I guess you would say. I'm one of the best Call of Duty Warzone players in the world.
Oh shit! Like, here we go. I don't know anything about that game. I remember it came out like 10 years ago.
It came out about Warzone itself came out about probably 18 months ago.
No, I'm talking about the first.
Yeah, the original Call of Duty. You know what's funny? I really did not play. I mean, I've played video games sporadically throughout the course of my life. And then in college, I started playing some. Got pretty decent at like Halo and things like that. But then I quit for a few years, and then Warzone came out, and all my friends are playing it, so I started playing it too, and it's a battle royale, so you fight down to the last man or last team standing, depending on the mode, and I love that aspect, like real competition, not, you're dead, you respawn, like we're just going to play, there's real...
so once you're gone, you're gone.
Yeah, once you're gone, you're gone.
So it's not like Halo
your teammate
or whatever.
can buy you back, but it's very much a game based around IQ and the gunfighting aspect, whatever. But I really love going back to competition, that it raised the level of competition because in multiplayer you can just run around, die, respawn, whatever. You just keep playing. It's really no. There's no moment where you get an adrenaline rush from it, if that makes sense. With this, when the final circle is closing down and you're trying to make plays, bro, there's an actual adrenaline rush from it. And for me, going back to how we started this about competition, it's been the best way for me to compete and get that rush.
Makes sense.
Get that rush and do it at a high level. I think that's like I'm killing some of the top streamers in the world. I got video, like we're there. We're playing at the elite level of it. So it's pretty cool. That's been my way to keep myself single.
I mean, that's one way too, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, I mean, I played video games like growing up, and then I really didn't much after I got of age and kind of drinking and hanging out. But then I started.
Exactly. See, that's what people of age are supposed to be doing.
But some buddies and I would get together when and it was early on, but then again, we were playing fucking UFC video games.
Yeah. I played all the sports games.
And we were playing like Blitz. Remember Blitz?
Definitely.
That shit was fun. Yeah. And then Halo when it came out. I always had fun with that because we drink and play. We'd have people like whatever. Like if chicks were over, we didn't do that shit because they don't want to sit around and watch that shit. They're like, what the hell? These dudes are boring. But when it was just us, we would do that. But I got to where I would love playing video games, and this was a long time ago. This is before I was an adult, but I was really into like Zelda.
Sure.
Like I don't know what those are called, like Discover or what are those called?
Like role playing games, I guess RPGs.
Those,
I guess, kinda,
and then Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, so those are definitely.
And then something else like that, where you could play that
kind of
shit
free
forever.
Open world type stuff.
Fallout.
Yeah, Fallout's a good one.
Those were things that I was doing at a young adult age, and then I hadn't picked a controller up. I don't even know what version of PlayStation or Xbox is out anymore. And if you gave me a controller, I probably wouldn't fucking know what to do with it.
Well, so quarantine is actually where I started playing a lot because we were at home. I was just sitting at home. I was like, what do I have to do? And so that's kind of what happened. And it came in during quarantine and ate up a lot of that free time that I had sitting around. Probably should have been meditating more and doing cool things like that. Yeah, but instead, I was playing video games.
You can spend a lot of time on stuff like that, especially those ones that like those Origin.
For sure. Well, and the cool thing with this is that no game is ever the same. It's completely different every single time. And I'm doing it with my best friends. Like it's a couple of my best friends. Like, I'm not playing with random people from across the world. Like we happen to just be really good. And so to be able to do it with some of my best friends, it's like it's the bro aspect to it, the competition aspect. And I think we all enjoy doing something we're good at too. And there's probably a little bit of an addiction aspect there from the adrenaline rushes of playing it and playing it at that level. I think to some degree where I'm like, I'd rather be playing video games than going out tonight, and that's probably true to a degree.
I mean, look, at this point now where we're at in the world, like there's a huge facet for game competition now. It's massive. It's considered sports now.
It is the fastest growing sport, if you will. Actually,
it's still competition. No, it's not physical, but it definitely is mental. And I used to talk shit on it, but I did it, before. And then I got to where I was just doing all physical activities. And I would talk shit on. But at the end of the day, look, man, if you enjoy doing it and it gives you some way to connect to people, it's not you just doing it in your basement of your mom's house and not getting any social interaction. If you're doing it and you're able to like talk shit to people, hang out, dude, whatever. Yeah. Then
Moody
whatever.
Gaming on Instagram if you want to hear some of it, actually. But you're absolutely correct. And for me, I will watch. I say this in jest, but I will watch competitive knitting if I know it's going to be a good game. Competition is competition. Yeah. I've always said this, and girls would be like, "Is cheerleading a sport?" Cheerleading on the sideline is not a sport. Competitive cheerleading is a sport.
Yeah.
I know, and hopefully that is such a simple enough distinction that you can get what I'm saying.
Well, it's something where, it's the same exact.
No, it's cheerleading. I think it's great. I love the cheerleaders. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want,
I completely. It's just like the people that call the sport like they know what they're doing in the stands versus the players. It's the same aspect of it. I mean, you have the people that are working and doing their job every single day. That's their job. You have the people that are just spectators.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think, it's just once you add that, hey, I'm competing for something aspect, and that's the actual definition of sport.
What's the update? Like, I have no idea what's going on in the esports game. This is esports, right? Is what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know quite as much. I just know that it's blowing up as far as
Is there a commentary position on that stuff? That's something you would do? Would you do that shit?
You know what's funny? I was watching a Twitch competition last night.
Oh, so Twitch is the social network?
Twitch is the one that really runs all the big stuff.
I've never been on it.
Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube all are pushing huge right now on their gaming sections. They're all making big pushes. They're actually trying to steal some of the big streamers away from each one. There's like millions of dollars being exchanged between some of these streamers to get better contracts, and like it's blowing up right now. Yeah. Twitch is the king. Facebook's done a pretty good job recently. YouTube's coming on strong real quick. But as far as the commentary is concerned, I was watching these people last night. They're brutal. And Twitch is paying them, I guess. So Twitch, if you hear this, I swear to God, I don't brag very often. Maybe I do sometimes. I swear I'll do a better job than those clowns you had running the Warzone stuff yesterday. On my life, everyone will like it.
Well, that's the thing, then. Yeah, that's what, immediately when you said that, I was like, there's got to be a room for that if it's not there yet. And you
know what I might do after this, DJ? Now that you've mentioned it, I might go back and redo the commentate over two of the matches for them and send it to them. I thought it was brutal. I think they can do better.
So how many times do you get
a hater? Because I usually am not much of a hater, but it's true.
Well, how many times do you get a sportscaster that's like an avid video game player? Like, so if you could do like that, I just think that would be cool.
I might do it. Maybe we just spark something here, because I was watching and I had this thought last night. Like, man, I would do a better job than they are, and I don't want it. Like, it sounds so bad when you come out.
No, dude. I mean, no. If you know, you know. Like, here's the thing. Like, if you think about the regular gamer, they're not that social.
I think maybe they're better when they're doing like League of Legends, because I think they broadcast more than just the Warzone stuff.
I don't know what that.
Yeah, like there's different games, and so it's kind of more on the fantasy side. And again, I don't do a lot of that either. And so for me, it's like, okay, But if we're battle and like those kind of things, I would crush it. Twitch, if you're ready, like I would. Trust me, I'm ready. I'll send you my reel. It's not so bad.
No, I think it's great. I just think that I remember GoldenEye, man.
Yeah.
Like that's what we used to play, man, back in the day. Like that's the first multiplayer, that and fucking Mortal Kombat. GoldenEye. GoldenEye was definitely. That was the shit. You got the golden gun, it was over with. I cannot believe I'm talking about video games on this fucking podcast right now.
It's crazy the depth that video games has in our world. Like,
I haven't seen one in.
It's crazy. It's everywhere.
8 years.
And I think in some ways, it's such a waste of time.
Yeah. No, I can agree.
It's such a waste of time.
I think if you're playing at a competitive level, and you're getting paid for it, then I really can't talk shit.
No, of course not. No, but I think if you're right where I'm at, you're playing a lot.
Nah, man, we're not gonna hate on what you're doing. It's your hobby.
But you have to be realistic as well. And I mean, dude, I evaluate. I try to be a pretty good self-evaluator, so it's not like I don't see these things, But yeah, it's come into play, and I think right now, it's not as fun to be out in the world. They have made it. It has become. Excuse me. Let me not shape it that way. It has become a world where it's just not as safe to to be outside.
Yeah, we're disconnecting.
It's different out there right now.
Yeah.
And for me in particular, I'm just making the most of it the way that I can, protecting myself. And I'm very different. I use a lot of natural remedies and things. I got crystals in my pocket right now. Like, I'm a different dude, just in general. And so I have a different view for a lot of the things that are going on. And because of that, I'm protecting myself in my own ways. Yeah. And so this just happens to be the easy, simple way for me to have fun, protect myself, and be comfortable in this world we got going on. Yeah. If that makes sense.
No, I mean it's been it's definitely an adjustment, and who knows what's going to happen next. You're a super huge conspiracy theory dude.
I had a feeling we might get here. Maybe I just led myself into it. I am a conspiracy theorist. I am, and I am. I I always say this: once the veil has been lifted and you see what you have seen, and this is not what you have seen, this is what I have seen.
Yeah.
Once you lift that veil, it is just impossible to unsee the scene. And for me, the universe, God, whatever, has showed me certain things throughout the course of my life that leads me to believe the world is not as it seems.
Well, of course not, man. I don't think it ever has been. You know, but the more it's like, it's a gift and a curse, right? We have massive connections to every single country and every single civilization that has access to internet in this world now. Whereas 20 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, we didn't have that. You know, so it's like, okay, well, you're starting to realize shit, and like, you can only keep secrets so long. Now, I don't know what happened, what didn't happen, who did what, but like, shit just starts to come out. Just like all the alien files that keep getting released, you know, because it's like, they're gonna find this shit.
Well, at some point, there's conflicting information in certain places. I don't know. I just think that the structure is the structure is so in place that we don't even see it sometimes. That I think that there's some control mechanisms in the background that have been put in place for literally like 100 years.
Just starting to fail now.
Yeah, and it's so easy for it's easy for the storyline to be controlled because of the mass media. Yeah. If you look on the back end, many of your mass media sources are owned by the same conglomerates.
Let's talk about that. So you were in media.
I was in media.
You were working for a big, what was it, NBC?
I worked for, they were an NBC affiliate. Okay. And so kind of to that, well, okay, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, what did you see? Because I've seen this just being part of some reality TV and stuff like that. You know, completely changing the narrative, the story, you know, from what it should be to what it seems.
Well, I can't say that they changed the narrative, but I can say that they control the narrative, because especially when you look down at your local level, they just send you national packages, and you run. There are some packages that are must runs that must be in your show.
So you have no.
They're just and look, I was the producer. You know, I produced these. So I know what the back end of the show looks like. I put together the morning show every morning for like a year, you know, and there are certain national packages that come down. And who am I? I don't know the validity of these stories. I'm going to run them because they've been told to me. And I don't even know sometimes that the person that has constructed this at the national level even knows how true some of the stuff is, because they have probably been fed information from a superior there. Yeah. That's just like, hey, this is a story that we're running. I need you to scope it and present it in a certain way. And here's your national package that's coming down. Run it in A7.
Well, I mean, so what is that like then when you see stuff that well,
I did not become a conspiracy theorist until right at the end of me leaving the TV station.
What happened?
I had a medical situation where my body was turning against me at age 25.
Okay. Was it too much alcohol?
No,
too much
I was
drugs?
not much of a drinker. Well, maybe. And I didn't drink too much. I drank. Don't get me wrong. Like, I partied really hard with my friends whenever I did. But I was never much of a drinker. I did use quite a bit of marijuana. That was my thing. And I experimented with other things. I've tried some things
at
music
we all
festivals.
have, man.
I went to music festivals. Yeah. Like, that was my thing, and I enjoyed myself. But I don't think this is directly related. Honestly, I actually don't. But I had this situation where, man, crazy headaches, a lot of stomach issues. I had this situation where I tried to go to sleep for like a week, and every time I'd go to fall asleep, my body would jerk itself awake, and it was getting real weird. So I went to the doctor or hospital one night, and they run all these tests. They kept me for 3 days, ran all kinds of tests. You're healthy, bro. You're healthy. All this stuff. And I spent the next few months in general just going to the doctors like, bro, you're, evaluated like all kinds of tests. Spent a lot of money that I didn't have at the time to only be told, like, you're fine. We want to put you on antidepressants. I said, no, sir. I'm the happiest person that has ever sat in your office. I promise you, I'm a very happy human. I live a good life. I will never complain. And it was not that. And so they just kept pushing for these things, and multiple different doctors like, hey, you're stressed, bro. No, the hell I'm not. Something is working against me. So I disbanded from going to the doctor after about a 2-year period of them just giving me nothing but nonsense and medical bills. Took healing into my own hands, started researching herbs and energy practices and all kinds of different things. And dude, I am much better today. I don't know necessarily what the situation was. I don't know if just eating a horrible diet for so long had deteriorated my stomach. And like, there's
Were you
so
staying hydrated at that time?
Oh yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily things of that nature. It was definitely something on a molecular level. I just know for a fact, as I've gone through and tried to heal myself, and it's a battle that still rages on in some ways. I still get the headaches, but like, I think a lot of people are dealing with things out there that they're never going to know about, because I think this is where my conspiracy theory side started. I started researching like some of like the crazy stuff that's happened in our country. I want to say this is one of my favorite conspiracy theories. I'm going to say it one time. It's called Operation Paperclip. It's not necessarily a conspiracy theory. Operation Paperclip. Right after World War II, the United States brought over 1,000 Nazi scientists. Over 1,000 Nazi scientists. I don't want that to be like misunderstood. Nazi scientists brought them to an island right off the coast of like New York, Connecticut, that area, like a little spot. It's called Plum Island. Look it up, Plum Island. Well, they were there testing all of these different bacteria and parasites and viruses. They're supposed to be, looking into ways to prevent them from harming us. Well, they were also at the same time experimenting on how ticks could multiply rapidly. They wanted ticks to rapidly multiply. And one thing, if you know about ticks, they carry all kinds of diseases. Well, I found that when you start looking, and then Lyme disease pops up right off the coast of this Plum Island. This is where it comes. This is where the first cases of Lyme disease come to be, and from people bitten by ticks. And this place that is literally less than 10 miles away from you is working on these type of things with ticks, where rapid multiplication, is the science behind it. And so that's a big part of it. Then years later, the CDC, when evaluating Lyme disease, is setting guidelines for what tests will be used as to determine whether or not someone has Lyme disease. So they test 6 different tests: Western blot, immunoglobulin A bands, B bands. So these different kinds, ELISA tests. There's like 6 different ones they test. Right? One's like 50 or 55 to 60% effective. The least effective one is like 16%. Naturally, you would choose the one that's 60% effective. It chose the one that was 16% effective. So all of that, I read all of this in like an 8-hour period, and I was like, dude, this world is not what we think it is. This people, so all of a sudden in like a day's time, right? And as I'm and there's all kinds of other things that tied into this, but this was my breaking point. This was the thing where I said, dude, if the CDC can do something this vile, because it is, for people, they'll never understand that maybe they're dealing with said diseases, and who knows how many other things this is happening with. I was like, if they can be corrupt, then everybody can be corrupt. And then, of course, my digging started from there. But I was like, man, this is, I thought it was a story that I found out about that through my research or whatever, just completely shattered the way I view the world. It really did. And for most people, it's not, they're going to be like, it's a random story. It's a conspiracy theory, bro. Like, how could that change your world? I think there's a lot of fire there. There's smoke, but I think there's a lot of fire there. For me, it was an impactful thing.
But a lot of times it happens is where a story comes out and there's validity in it, but people just immediately write it off because it seems so far-fetched, right? So, yes. I agree. Like, I most definitely think there are other beings out there beside of this world, right? But I also don't think that there's a fucking Bigfoot.
We would have found one dead by now.
Would have found one by now.
So that you have they have to eat each other after they die, or they bury themselves, or they bury the dead. Like, if not, we would have found one by now.
Those are things like, okay, so that's what you determine. Like, but someone would have said the same thing about aliens. Like, who knows, man? But I know this. Like, when you have validity behind a story, but no one wants to believe it, it just kind of just turns into a conspiracy theory.
The thing is, there's paper trails on stuff like this. Like this stuff
I've heard about that one.
This stuff is like this is what's crazy. If you go through the Freedom of Information Act, you will find there's so many documents released by our CIA. Oh God, we got into conspiracy theories here, bro. There's a lot of weird things going on in your world that you don't understand. And I think it's so much deeper than we will ever understand. And man, yeah,
we're not supposed to understand. First off,
no,
they're only going to release the documents. If they don't want us to understand, they're only going to release the documents that they want us to see.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. There's a lot of MK Ultra mind control is an interesting one to see. Very well documented by the CIA. It's a mind control. Basically, they would take a subject. It would take usually 70 to 80 days. They would put them through hallucinations. Electric shock.
This happened in what years was this going on?
It started like in the late 60s and early 70s.
And this is what trickled into the Charles Manson stuff.
Yes,
all that. Yes,
mm-hmm.
Yes.
They say it's associated for sure. So the theory, again, we're conspiracy theorists here. It's not like the CIA documented all of this. But so the way it works essentially, and this was for war reasoning, so that they could, so if in case we go to war, we can have the Manchurian candidate, basically. But like they put them through intense hallucinations, electric shock, would have certain phrases repeated for like hours on hours on hours while these people are in these states where they break the brain open and they insert programming. Is basically the easiest way to get into it. And then you have a handler who can access that programming through certain words. That's the most simple way for me to explain it to you.
And if you can't grasp that, basically just refer to the Winter Soldier. If you watch Marvel movies or some shit, it's the same thing.
It's something like that. So this is the weird part about it. It's not, for me, the fact that they are trying to do these things and successfully doing these things from what they have said. The fact that they're doing that doesn't surprise me. Here's where it gets weird, though. They spend billions of dollars on this. They determine that it works, and then they just, hey, we're going to shut this program down.
Yeah.
So you either just wasted billions of our taxpayers' dollars for no reasoning, or you're going to continue having this going on as a blacklisted program.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe is the kind of things that are going on.
I mean, at that point,
why spend the money? What's the point? What are you learning there if you're not going to continue doing this?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you have if it's working, you're spending all that money, you're continuing to do it, and then of course, if it works, why are we going to? Yeah, let's control it and use it for something else.
And it's just you brought up conspiracy theories. Those are two that always stick out to me because I think there's a lot behind. There's a lot of things you can go find that say, hey, this might be true, man. Like it might be more than a conspiracy theory. So just do your own research. I'm just a dude talking about some things that I learned once upon a time. Do your own research, and maybe you'll find something beautiful. So
what happened? You said that what story triggered that, or what? Because we didn't really talk about that.
We had the Lyme disease thing.
Yeah, but you went in the rabbit hole on that, right?
Yeah, I was just. So
that was just an article that you passed through.
That was something I found somewhere. I think I was just researching. I became so enamored with the human body and different things that can impact the human body. Okay. I think I was becoming such a science nerd that I happened to stumble upon this one day. Like I was spending like 3 or 4 hours a day just researching the human body, man. Like, especially natural remedies and things like I'm a walking encyclopedia right now for those types.
You probably have more knowledge than I do, but I'm like a super homeopathic dude. Like I don't even take ibuprofen unless I absolutely fucking have to.
Totally, man. For me, it's very herbal based now. These are big things in my life and will continue to be.
Well, I mean, this is not talked about enough, and no, we're not sports medicine experts or anything, but I have had these conversations with multiple people that are on this show, and other people. It's like the fact that all they want to do is prescribe you medication.
Yeah, totally.
And then you have people, like 9 times out of 10, you have people going on dialysis. You have people with diabetes, whatever it may be. These older people that have horrible diets, they don't consume any water. Sure. They're taking all this medication, so their kidneys start shutting down because they're not filtering in this medications out of your body. Yeah. And that's something that's not fucking talked about. And I talk about it all the time. Like I bring it up and have these conversations about medication because it pisses me off. Like, it's all these old people never drink enough water in their whole damn life anyways, and they start taking all this fucking medication.
Hear this?
Exactly.
Straight up though.
Dad, grandpa, grandma, everybody. If you're listening, listen. Like they're drinking sweet tea or coffee all fucking day long, or Cokes or whatever it may be.
Yep. Totally.
Not consuming enough of
the essence of life, the thing that makes up 70 to 80% of your bodily fluid, your bodily content, the thing that you're. But it's so true and it's so simple, and like you can actually radically transform the way your life feels, not just your body. I'll tell you this, as someone who battled the body really hard, your capacity for happiness and energy is really low when your body is not doing well. And through using, not that I am always at my peak energetically, but my capacity for my energy is so much higher than it's ever been since I've started using herbs and doing these things, these energetic practices. I'm not always at my peak. No, of course not. No one is. But my capacity, like now, whenever I know I'm at my peak, I'm like, dude, I'm better than I've ever been. And so I think there's a lot of validity in what you just said to water, man. Water is such a difference maker. You need it for just flushing your body out, because we encounter so many toxins through the foods we eat, the things in our air,
everything.
Yes.
And recovery for athletes. I was into cutting weight, fighting, competing at the time, and I had acute kidney failure because I was doing a keto type diet, high protein, low carbs, trying to cut so much weight. I was not consuming enough water just because I had my whole life, so I wasn't used to water loading. And then also, I was taking all types of supplements, shit from GNC, whatever the hell pre-workouts really I had.
Tough on the kidneys,
yeah, hell yeah. And so, now, if I drink a little too much, typically it's not with alcohol. I'm going to say that because it really don't bother me that much. But if I take something, like a pre-workout or something, or if I don't have enough carbs that day to kind of soak up some of, what I'm putting in my body, and I do, because I always try to have enough water, but anyways, I'll have back pain and it's my fucking kidneys being inflamed, and I know that because I'm body aware now because I had that.
Sure.
But I was in the gym working out, my back was hurting so bad, I went to an orthopedic specialist, nothing was wrong with my back. Go get a CT scan. Holy shit, my kidneys are full of fucking ketones, and it looks like it's not a kidney stone, it looks like fucking sand.
Dang.
Wow. And so that kind of woke me up, and so now I'm the douchebag with the gallon of water, but it's because I know that I don't want to have those kidney problems anymore.
Well, a big part of that was the ketosis.
Yeah.
Let's be honest about it. Look, I get keto if you're trying to lose weight, but if you're really trying to do it the right way, it needs to be vegetable based.
Yeah.
Really, ketosis, I get it, man, but it is hard on the body. It's super hard on the adrenals, right? I'm someone that went through a long period of doing intermittent fasting, which is great.
I've done that too. I did it for a year and a half.
It's great for you. It's not that it's bad for you, but it's really tough on the adrenals. If you're going to try and do that, this is what I have found, and this is you can check him out, Medical Medium. I think he's doing some really good research. Celery juice in the morning to start your morning, dude. It is one of the most cleansing juices on the planet. It's got these sodium salts that will break down and kill bad bacteria, bad viruses that are in your body, and it is the best way. It raises the hyaluronic acid in your gut, which will, in the morning, help you flush out all those toxins. And then it's the main mechanism that makes it so good and prevents the adrenal burnout is that it helps with your insulin resistance. We're all a little insulin resistant in the way that our society has shaped us, if you want to say so. And it'll help you with that. So throughout the course of the day, your adrenals are not trying to get that insulin burst, essentially, to keep the motor running. So that's just a small tip. If you're going,
what does it taste like? It sounds like it tastes like shit.
It's not that bad. It's
not that
I will tell you this: on day 3 or 4, you're just going to be like, I love this, because you're going to feel a little bit better. And like a couple weeks in, you'll definitely start.
Do you order this shit, or you just blend up a?
So dude, you can get an $80 juicer. If you can get an $80 juicer from Bed Bath & Beyond, wherever. What's the place over here?
Whole Foods, whatever.
What place by Best Buy? Anyways.
Hell, I don't know.
Yeah, that place. Bed Bath & Beyond.
It's Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yeah, okay, that's what it is. You can get one. You can order one from anywhere, Amazon, and then just go to your local grocery store. Celery. Just check him out. Medical Medium.
Juice it up.
This dude's doing some great. Yeah, juicing is amazing in general, but this needs to be done as a standalone. It's really, and he goes through all the mechanisms of why. I tried to briefly summarize it right there, but it is the one thing that I have found versus intermittent fasting. I think they're both good, but this saves the adrenals while also cleansing the body.
Okay, well, interesting. I may try it. I absolutely hate celery, but I'll try it.
So this is what's funny, right? No matter what you hate, if you eat it for 5 straight days, you will gain a bit of a taste for it, because I think their bacteria in your gut they control so much of what we crave. You eat bad food, you eat junk food for 2 straight days, you're going to crave junk food a ton the next few days. You take 3 or 4 days off for eating junk food, you will start to crave whatever you have,
That must be my problem with tequila.
It must be what it is. It is. Well, it's funny with
it's like I'm not going to have a drink of tequila
within 48 hours.
I'm like, shit, it's good.
Yeah, within 48 hours, our gut bacteria can kind of change what we're interested in. It's very weird, depending on what we give to it.
And well, look, man, I know we got to wrap up here soon because you got other things to do.
I do. I got to go. I got to go back to I'm doing a baseball pick segment. I kind of like. It's so funny that we got a chance to do this because I kind of view what I do in two separate lives, almost. Like there's the sports broadcaster side, and then there is this kind of hippie lifestyle. I love. The older I get, the more I love this other side more.
No, dude,
talk about these kind of things.
It's fun as you get some age on you actually give a shit about things. You know what I mean?
You just
that people don't. It's
how
like
boring is the world if it's if you don't find some beauty in it. And while we did talk about conspiracy theories and some of those feel like negative things, I think life is as beautiful as it's ever been. So,
well, you heard it from here.
Yeah.
Look, man, I appreciate it today. Everyone, please subscribe to the podcast, and we'll have you on again soon, man.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
Thanks, man.